Hello, I'm Jarg, and welcome back to my basic beginner's guide to Terraria. Last time, we actually explored the underground, and, well, we pretty much got ourselves set up more or less. I got myself the molten gear, I made myself a bunch of molten armor, got the molten pickaxe, I made the molten sword, and even combined all of them to make the Knight's Edge, which is a very, very nice sword, I'm not gonna lie. While I'm away, I've also made myself the Imp Staff, using the Hellstone bars. I combined a bunch of Hellstone bars combined with the bug net that I got from the merchant to make myself the lava-proof, bug-proof net, as well as some extra items like the Phoenix Blaster and the Zealous Boomerang, which is stuff I've done off-camera. On this episode, I wanted to talk about a few little things before we move on to fighting the final boss of pre-hard mode, and, well, get the ball rolling to make things even more difficult. Now, one of the things is going to possibly happen as you go through the game is that after defeating whatever the boss is, after fighting whatever boss is specific to your world, be it the giant worm or the giant brain, down here in the cavern layer, not under here because it's just the underground, but down here, the cavern layer, you have a chance of finding an NPC. I've already found him before. It's been kind of shown off, but I haven't really talked about him too much. This character right here. Now, he is part of what I would say side quests, like completely optional. I just call him the barkeep. He's part of the Dungeon Defenders update that happened, and how this guy works is that if you shop from him, he will sell you ale, some Eternia crystals, an Eternia crystal stand, a forge, Defender's Forge, which requires 50 metals, and a couple of rods, Fireburst, Ballista, Explosive Trap, and Ore Rod. But they all require Defender metals instead of copper, silver, or whatever. So how this guy works is that you buy yourself a crystal stand, and you buy yourself a couple of crystals. I've done a bit of this off-camera just because I wanted to save time. But either way, you would buy the stand, you would buy the crystals. You wouldn't be able to buy any of the rods, which I can show off in just a minute. But the idea behind it is that you put down the stand, and you want it on a very large, flat platform, and, well, you have to try and defend this thing. So, from this, eventually you try to win. Whether or not you want to lose, you can potentially get medals. And what he can give you are staves. The staves having different things. The Lightning Aura Staff, one of my favorite, makes essentially a bubble that hurts any enemy that comes inside of it. However, one, it is stationary. Enemies have to come into it. And two, it is the weakest of all the rods. However, you don't have to aim it, and it just will do damage on its own. Next off is the Fireburst, which how this one works... Let me turn off the imps for a minute. How the Fireburst works is that it will look for an enemy, and will essentially spit a fireball at them. However, the chance of hitting is not always guaranteed. It's very similar to the Ballista in that sense, and the fact that it will fire an attack, but you're not always guaranteed the hit. But if you can hit, it is powerful. And the fourth trap are the explosive/IED traps. Essentially, enemies get close, and thankfully, rather than being a one-time use item, they will just keep on exploding. Only useful for ground-based enemies and nothing more. However, if we just use it... Okay, you're just gonna be annoying like that, aren't you, Mr. Slime? We just have him down, boom. Now, I would say you're mostly going to be using these for the stand. However, because we can use them outside of that, it's up to you whether or not you want to use them or not. However, if you want to do this little side quest, a couple of things. One is that there are 3 what I would call phases of this side quest. Right now it is Tier 1. Tier 2 does not get unlocked until you defeat 1 out of 3 bosses in hard mode, with the 3rd and most difficult tier not unlocking until a bit later after that. Now, as you go up in the tiers, the trader will have some new stuff. He'll give you some better rods. I think you go for like rod the stabs or probably like rods to wands the stabs. So just essentially giving you the same thing but with better damage and whatnot. Either way, if you're gonna try this, I highly recommend going for a minion base build. So the bee armor that you get from the beeswax from Queen Bee, the pygmy necklace, which you can buy from the shaman at night, and I think it's only 20 silver, so that's very cheap. And that voodoo table, I can't think of the proper term. Whatever this thing is. Butchering table? Is that what you're called? A bewitching table. To give yourself up to 5 minions, and I'm not gonna lie, the minions essentially destroy this thing. So how this thing works is that you right-click on it, and you get some Eternia crystals. These crystals are essentially your price for putting down your defenses. As you can put down multiple when doing this, however you need 10 crystals per each one you place down. The game is kind enough to give us 10 to start things off, and well, here we go. There are multiple waves as seen at the bottom, and this one is pretty much going on as we go. I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna shut up right now, and just speed this part up until probably round 3 or 4. Alright, as we get into round 4, we get a new enemy. We've been getting new ones as has been going on. But the Wyvern is honestly the only thing I am, quote, worried about in this fight. Mostly because they fly. Which means that they can just bypass the lightning aura staff that I'm using. Actually, let me get rid of the map right now. They can fly over these, so they take a little bit of damage and then they're done. However, with the M7 about, they won't be too much of a threat. As a matter of fact, we have not even seen any of the enemies. That's just how useful all these things are. It's a lot more difficult in normal mode, or normal mode. Expert mode or master mode, I'll say that much. But yeah, that's the Wyvern. Yeah, just watching all these guys just get mowed down. Anyways, by completing wave 4, we actually get rewarded for that. We actually get ourselves a medal. Meaning, in a worst-case scenario, you can at least get to round 4 or 5 times, you can get yourself 1 medal. You can get yourself one of these staves. Now, it's 4 rounds down, 1 round remains. But this one is going to be a little bit different, mostly because of 2 things. One is the Dark Mage, which gets added on this one. However, the Dark Mage will not show up until half of the wave is complete. However, the wave cannot be finished until the Dark Mage has been defeated. So you can hit 100%, but if that Dark Mage is still alive, the wave won't end. So keep that in mind. However, something I found out just the other day is if you want to try and grind up some cash, kill the Dark Mage. Kill the Dark Mage, he dies, and another one comes out. The Dark Mage can give you some good selling items, so just constantly having him spawn and die might honestly be a great way of just getting cash. As of right now, I'm just so overpowered that nothing here really matters. And there we go. For winning that, I got 3 extra medals, giving me a grand total of 5. Now, I killed that guy at least 3 times, as evident of these war tables that I got. Got myself a bunch of banners, and one thing I did not point out that I should have is that when you have this little side quest going, you can not place any blocks or anything. So keep that in mind. You can interact with switches, but not place anything. Alright, can I sell? A war banner is 2 gold alone, and I got a bunch of those. War table, 2 gold, and I got a bunch of those. Gato egg, which is the little thing I got. 2 gold. Squire shield, I only have one of these. Sell that. Dragon egg, I can just show off real quick. I do have that one as well. I don't really see a dragon when I look at this, but I also don't even know what I see, so I'm just sticking with the cat. Yeah, honestly, I would say this is not a bad way. I got, like, almost 50 gold out of this. And yeah, that's how you get yourself Defender medals, and if you want to get yourself the 50 to get yourself the other thing, just keep on doing that at least 10 times and you're golden. However, as I said before, the Tavern Keep will have more of them and better versions of them later on, so who knows, maybe it'll be worth your while to get them now, assuming you actually want to use the staves. I'm going to say no to the staves right now, but, I mean, that's up to you. They have uses. I will not lie. These things could be useful, especially for boss fights, say, later on, but as of right now, I don't want them on my person. And speaking of things I don't want on my person, but things I'm going to talk about anyways, because why not? We're going to go fishing. More importantly, we're going to be talking about the fishing quests. So how this works is that you're going to want to get yourself a fishing rod. I got very lucky as the, whatchamacallit, the traveling salesman was selling me the sitting duck fishing rod, which is the best fishing rod I can get at this point of the game. I believe the closest thing that I can get easily is a rod from the mechanic here. Oh, sorry, puppy, I didn't mean to talk to you. Went to talk to you. As she sells the mechanic's rod, which is 35 compared to the 40. Which is also a good rod to have. However, I want to go over to the ocean, because that's why I currently have my angler. And for whatever reason, I could not get anybody to spawn the ocean pylon. So, I was just out of luck on that one. Either way, when it comes to fishing, hello there, if you talk to this guy, he will give you a quest, and he'll tell you a couple of different things. I'm sure someone, a really stupid someone, tried to tell you that there is no water in the desert. They were absolutely and positively wrong. There's this thing called an oasis, and it has water in it. Guess what happens when you have water? That's right, you have fish. Weird fish that try to sting and pierce you and do all other things, blah blah blah. He'll tell you to catch a fish in a specific biome. In this case, catch a scorpion fish in the desert. Huh, interesting. So now that I know what he wants, I can go out and try to capture the fish that he wants and give it back to him. I think you have until 4:30 of the following day, which means I probably did this a little bit too late, but let's give it a shot. Now, there is a couple of things when it comes to fishing. I won't lie, I don't know everything about it. The main thing I've noticed is that your fishing power is what really matters, which is... oh, shoot. Your fishing power is usually based around... I want to say it's the phase of the moon... as I do actually want to say that's a part of it. Alongside the weather, which is 2 things that you can't control. The 2 things that you can control are A, the fishing rod that you use, and B, the bait. Now, obviously the harder the bait is to get, the higher the quality is. So, for example, I got myself a ton of grasshoppers, but very few worms. Worms are a lot more valuable than grasshoppers in terms of their fishing power. Now, how does that work? Again, I don't fully know. Just that usually when you have higher quality, you tend to get more fish and less trash. Anyways, I got the item he wanted, quest. And there we go. Well, you actually did what I asked and survived. Nice, hand it over and beat it. If you hit quest again, well, that's it for today. So come back tomorrow, which in my case would be in about a minute and a half. So when you do quest for him, he will give you stuff. It is for the most part random. Like for example here, I got some apprentice bait and a mine carp. Now, if you want to go for all the achievements, I'm going to warn you now. This guy has, to get all the achievements, you have to do 200 fishing quests for this guy. Now, thankfully, because you can go sleep in a bed, which I didn't bring with me because I'm stupid, because we can go sleep in a bed, we can have time pass fast. So because of that, we can just keep on doing these quests in a faster rate than beforehand. Now, speaking of fishing, one thing that could happen as you are fishing is that you do have a chance of finding some, let's say, rare items. Those items can be accessories that can, I think, talked about this before, back before we fought any of the first bosses. They can be accessories such as a duplicate of the running shoes or the balloon. But you can also find crates out in the waters that you go fishing at. You have a better chance of finding crates when using a specific potion that's used for finding crates. But if you should find them, personally I would say to hold on to them and not open them up. As opening them up later, there we go, like that wooden crate, can be very useful for the start of hard mode. Now there are different types of crates. I want to say there are the wooden crates, which I got. There are steel crates, golden crates, and then biome-specific crates. So the biome-specific ones would be, say, a desert crate, a sky crate, an ocean crate, so on and so forth. Which will have a biome-specific item, well, potentially have a biome-specific item. So say you got yourself a ice crate. You might have a chance of getting a blizzard in a bottle. And now it's a new day, we can talk to him, quest, and oh, he wants me to catch a cloudfish on a sky lake, which I have not even found. But yeah, that's essentially how fishing works. So that's the second thing I wanted to talk about today. The third thing I want to talk about is related to the jungle in a small bit. So how it works is that wherever the jungle is on your world, in my world it's on the left, but in yours it could be the right, you want to explore that edge of the world. For at the edge of the world could be some very, well, somewhere on that edge of the world is a very useful biome for you to find. Again, I did all this searching off camera, just to save time. But let me just show you. Alright, so, as we are going further down, I wanted to say, look at the background. Still normal. Still normal. If you see this, a story background, you have found the biome that you want to be looking for. This is, I believe it's called the Aether biome, and this stuff right here is a very useful liquid for different reasons. Now, how this works is that this stuff is called shimmer. If you throw stuff into it, you have a chance of getting something else out of it. There is a huge list that you can find online, as I do not know them all. However, one thing I would highly recommend if you can find this thing, and if you do find it, I highly recommend bringing yourself a life crystal and a mana crystal out and about. If you throw them into the shimmer, it'll get transformed. That life crystal just became a Vital Crystal, which will boost my life regen, and this Mana Crystal. I knew that one's gonna land. This Mana Crystal goes in, dissolves, and comes back as the Arcane Crystal, which will increase my mana regen. There are a couple other things you can get from this, such as throwing in a Golden Worm to increase your fishing power and whatnot, as well as a bunch of different little things, like if you throw in any of the Ancient gear, you'll get the non-Ancient equivalent and vice versa. So if you really wanted the Ancient Shadow... Say you had the Ancient Shadow helmet and the Ancient Shadow breastplate, but you didn't have the Ancient Shadow greaves. Make a pair of the Shadow greaves and throw them into the thing. God dang it. Throw them in the Aether, they should get absorbed, and there we go. And the same thing for vice versa. If you got the Ancient Shadow, but you wanted just the normal Shadow greaves. Again, it doesn't work for everything, but I would say definitely look up a wiki and see what you can and cannot make out of this, as this stuff can be very useful. Also, if you happen to, say, fall into this by accident, I can actually walk, I forgot about that because of my boots. If you fall into this, you will start to sink, you can't do anything. You will essentially be at the mercy as you just fall through space, I guess. Thankfully the game doesn't kill you. But you just fall through it and, well, you'll land up wherever you can land up. So yeah, there's that, and there's one last thing I want to talk about. However, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this off. I'm going to try real quick. I don't have a bed in here, I just realized. Oops. What happened to my bed? The fun thing I want to try out real quick, but I need it to be nighttime, and preferably I would need it to be raining or snowing. Alright, so now the last thing I want to talk about before ending things off in pre-hard mode is the the Do Not Starve, or Don't Starve, quote, DLC, or whatever you want to call it. So, I don't know much about this. There's only one thing I know of, well, two things I know of. One is that little ghost familiar I had before named Abigail, who apparently shows up. Oh, her flower has a chance of showing up near graves. The other thing is this thing, the deer thing, which summons Deerclops. From my understanding, he can show up in a snow biome at midnight if there is a blizzard and you are not near any friendly NPCs. However, I don't think this counts as a blizzard, and I don't want to have to keep waiting for time. So, deer thing was a combination of some Demonite ore. I think it was like 5 pieces of Demonite ore, 1 lens, and 3 pieces of fluff from enemies down in the underground. Either way, I'm just going to do that, and summon the Deerclops to come and fight. From my understanding, this is not the easiest of opponents. From my understanding, it's usually recommended to fight this guy around the time and preparedness for Skeletron, but honestly, this is actually going pretty well for me. Granted, I am very powerful. And with that, you get the achievement An Eye for an Eye. Deerclops has been defeated. And with his defeat, he gives you a radio thing. It allows you to see the world differently. Forbidden knowledge echoes through this radio. So how this works is that, from my understanding, it really puts you into the world of the Do Not Starve. So if I, for example, get rid of this. I still have light. How do I still have light? Oh, my orb of light. Let me shut that off real quick. No, I still have light. What? Huh. I'm a little bit confused on that one. Oh, I have a shine potion on. Okay. But as you can see, this really changes up the whole lighting system, and I actually kind of like it. However, I know obviously this is a little bit dark for anybody to see on YouTube. Let alone anything else. Let me just put this back on. But yeah, it adds little... I don't know. It just adds a little something else to the game. I believe there might be a hunger thing to it, but I'm not entirely sure. I just really like what it does with the lighting. And there's probably more that goes with it. Like, Eyebone. Some of the living Chester items. I'm assuming this works kind of like my familiars. No? Oh, wait, you're probably... Okay, you're one of those. But he actually does work at the chest. He works as the, piggy bank. That's cool. That's very cool. We also got the pneumatic horn. Allows wireless transfer of injuries. Wait, what's it shooting? Oh, it's shooting out the bullets. But it's shooting them out like they're just random items. That's funny. Yeah, there's like a bunch of the little different things you can get out of this. I don't know everything. And not to sound rude, but I don't think I want to know everything. But yeah, I think that's more or less everything I want to talk about in terms of all of this. So, next time, we're going to be moving on. We'll be moving on to fighting the boss and moving on to hard mode. Until then, if you have any questions, any worries, or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to ask, or make sure you're ready, because once we get ourselves in the hard mode, at least for this world, there's going to be no turning back. So, thank you for watching, have yourself a fantastic night, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.